So this is a Ninja Turtle podcast, but I really wanted to
Right.
start before that because before I started down the whole Ninja Turtle path, there was always one bad guy that I really
Uh-huh.
loved, and it was always that
Uh-huh.
Shredder character.
Right.
What was that phone call like when Mr. Sato, James Sato, passed on that role, or you were picked for that role? Do you remember that phone call?
I don't. Well, I remember because I know James Saito. I mean, I've worked with him before, and I've known him for years, way back since way back then. And I wasn't sure why they changed it because it wasn't just James that didn't do the second movie. It was also Judith who
Yeah.
played April, right?
Yeah, April.
And yeah, so the rumor I got was that the first movie. I really liked the first movie, but I guess a lot of people thought it, especially parents, thought it was a little too dark for the kids or something. I don't know, too violent.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they decided to make the second movie a little more, um, kid friendly, I guess. So I don't know the reason. I don't know if they passed on the roles or if they decided. I'm not sure why. You know, they decided to change. But I auditioned for it, and then I got the call, and I was like, "Hey, this is great." And my actually, I might have had some inside inside help because my friend Roberta Chow
Mm-hmm.
was one of the. She works for the was it Golden Harvest
Yeah.
or
Yeah, that was the
Golden
company that
Harvest.
owned it.
Right. She worked for them, and she was one of the producers of the movie. Um, so hey, maybe I got a little help there. I don't know.
Hey man, it's all about who you know, right?
You got it.
Now, when that comes up, how? Because this is almost 30 years ago at this point, and
Yeah.
I'm fair. I'm. This is my third interview that I've done, and I started just talking to anybody that would talk to me about turtles. It's something I've been super
Right.
passionate about. I burnt that
Uh,
original VHS out 3 times. So it was just one of those movies that just clicked really
yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
when you took over this role, was there anything that did you go and buy comics just to get a source material, or how did you get really into that helmet?
I did get the. I had seen the comics before. I didn't. I wasn't that into it. I watched the first movie because again, my friend Roberta also did the first movie, and Jim Saito was in it and so forth. But then once I got the role, I did go out and I bought and they weren't just comics. They were but they weren't as, I guess you couldn't really call them graphic novels either. But the format was like a big, thick.
Yeah, it was the magazine style.
Yeah. So I bought the first four of them, and I read them on the plane because I had to fly out to North Carolina for wardrobe fitting first. So that was my little research when I was flying out there. Was I read all those comics and just to see, make sure I knew what I was going to be doing.
Now, when you get into a different character, when you get into a character that you might not that you don't know too much about it, or that you're fairly new
Right.
with that character, is the
Right.
process for you now getting into that character the same as it was a few years back, or is that kind of evolved with with you and your personality throughout the years?
Um, I'm not, I think it's evolved a little bit. I have to say, I'm one of those actors who is not, you hear about these actors who do incredible amount of research for a role. They,
Mm-hmm.
they spend months researching this and that and making sure, all of this. I'm not that guy. I do a little research just to make sure that I don't get anything wrong. But I'm mostly, I depend a lot on, I guess I would say, imagination,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. I'm not, because not that the research is bad or anything. The other guys who do it, that's great, but it doesn't really help me in terms of playing a character. If I'm there thinking about all this research I've done, it sort of takes me out of it. So, and I mean, how much research can you do for Shredder other
Yeah.
than reading every comic book there is and seeing, you kind of have to. It's not, if you do, well, no matter how you play him, I think it's. I mean, it is a comic book, so I'm not worried about. Gee, I got he wouldn't stand this way, or he wouldn't do it that way, or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
he would just do whatever I would do. So.
Yeah. I feel you. It's just always cool hearing the process. One of my favorite things to do
Yeah.
with movies and TV shows is watching when you guys talk about your process or how you get into a character or what this
Right.
specifically means to you, and you always hear. I'm a chef by trade, so I always like seeing how the sausage is made, and I also like making the sausage. If you can equate that to acting and stuff. So it's
Right.
always fascinating. You hear somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio. They'll sit there and they'll go full method,
Sure.
drop themselves
Yeah.
into this role. It's
Right.
always fascinating to see somebody that. Would you say you feel boxed in more that way if you were to go super method? Do you just feel like there's no
No.
creative flow for you there, or?
No, not at all. I think it's just everybody has their own way of working, what works for them. I mean, like I say, if you go full method and you, I mean, I've heard stories of Daniel Day-Lewis just being in character
For Lincoln.
constantly.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, if that works for him, that's great, but it might not work for me. It might not work for somebody else. So everybody has their own way of doing things. And for me, it doesn't box me in. It doesn't, and it's I would say that like DiCaprio and all these other stars who are really fantastic actors, the roles they get to play are much more, I guess I would say, three-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
For me, as a minority actor, an Asian American actor, I mean, I've been at it for 35 plus years, and the roles that come along have not always been fully realized characters. They've always, pretty much. I mean, I've played the villain probably 95% of the time of my career, and it's always kind of my bread and butter has been the evil drug lord or the evil kind of thing, and usually it's not there's not it's just a certain way, a certain role, and a certain way that the producers and the directors expect you to do, and there's not much a chance of making it
your own
three-dimensional, kind of thing. And usually it's not the lead role, so it's a supporting role. So you kind of stuck in what you have to do to support the lead. So like I guess what I'm trying to say is if there was more of a chance of more diverse roles and more three-dimensional roles coming along, it would be great. I mean, maybe the research would be what I would get into. But a lot of the stuff I've done, really, I can't say that it needs months of research to do.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Now, if obviously you really can't see what I look like, but I'm a 6'2" redheaded white dude. So it seems like there's so much out there for people that look like me. And
right.
and now in this day and time where we're seeing these stories, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda Forever.
Right.
You see these seminal characters or these seminal actors that are getting these roles, and they're really giving a younger generation somebody that looks like them. Is there a role or a story that you think that you could do, to maybe highlight what Chadwick did with Black Panther to, a little kid is, I see Donnie Yen, he did it with Ip Man, but even though it wasn't, really so much him, appealing to a younger audience, he really got that niche with that martial arts background, martial art movies. But is there a character out there that you think you would just crush it and you would love to do a story about?
You know, let me think. Speaking of, like, say like example of Chadwick Boseman.
Mm-hmm.
He's a younger guy, and Black Panther, obviously, you know, for kids is great. Right now, there's their introduction of another Marvel called Shang-Chi.
Yes, sir.
So that's, again, you know, if that can have the same impact as Black Panther for the Asian American community, that would be fantastic. I'm 60 years old, and like I said, I've been doing this for 35, almost 40 years. And I think right now, if I got a role that to me would be, you know, the role of a lifetime kind of thing, it would not be something like Black Panther or something equivalent to that, where kids could say, "Hey, that's, you know, that's my hero," kind of thing.
Yeah, that could be me. You know.
Yeah, right. I would be the role. You know, I did a couple of years ago. I did recurring on Amazon series called The Tick,
Mm-hmm.
and for 2 seasons. And the role I played in that was just, for me personally, was really the greatest, the most fun I've ever had doing anything, because it was totally opposite from what I usually play, which is, again, like the bad guy, the villain. A role like that is, for me, would be my dream role, where it's a fully kind of realized 3-dimensional character, and being Asian didn't have anything to do with it. That's what I would be, but the kind of role I would be looking for, at least at this point in my career.
Now, when roles like that come up, now what is the product? Because like I said, I'm very ignorant when it comes to, you know, I love watching movies and TV shows. It's something me and my son share quite often. Just the love of going to a movie, the love of watching a TV show together. When that process comes down, or do you guys, and by you guys I mean actors and actresses, the the stars and everything like that, do you guys go and try to, you know, say, hey man, I heard, let's just say Iron Man was up. I heard Iron Man was up. Would you go out, or was that something that they kind of, you know, they come and look at you for? How does that whole process work?
It's like, say, for me specifically, let's say a role like, you know, a movie comes out and there's a role for an older Asian guy. Usually, my agents would handle it. They would handle everything. The casting process works now is that the casting director would first of all go to the people they know, like the 3 or 4 people. They would say, hey, you know, let's get Francois in here, let's get Ty in here, let's get this other guy in here, because they know us and they know our work, and it starts from there. So if they can't find anybody, or they think, oh, still not, then they might put it out to the rest of the rest of the agencies,
okay,
and say, hey, you know, we're still looking. But usually, at least like for me, when I go out to an audition, it's usually me and maybe 3 or 4 other guys that, and you've seen us. If you watch TV or whatever in the last 30 years, you've seen us. So it's like, oh yeah, that guy.
Well, it's always funny seeing you pop. Like, it's going to sound really weird. James Sato, right? I'm watching. I usually watch that first Ninja Turtles movie once or twice a week. It's generally like on the background. I'm listening to it.
Right.
You know, and just recently, with all this time that I've had, you know, off of work because the restaurant industry just got hit so damn hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's given me time to sit here and, man, you know what I need to really do is I really need to take this stuff that I love And like I said, this year's put so much shit into perspective with Chadwick dying, and I'm a huge basketball fan, so Kobe dying. So you really,
Oh man.
at this point in time in my life, there's you guys have done so much, for us fans, and it's really, my way of laying out the roses and saying thank you. But going, back to all of this, like I was just happened to look up and I saw his eyes, when he was wearing that Shredder costume, right when he was fighting the
Right.
turtles at
Right.
the end. And then flash forward like a week or so later, and me and my wife are watching Netflix, and we're watching Always Be My Maybe. And
Yeah. There you go.
I just happened to look up at the right
Yeah.
time, and I saw his eyes,
Yeah.
just his eyes, and that was it. And I'm like, holy shit, that is
Yeah.
Shredder. I never thought to put name to name, face to face,
Yeah.
well, in this point, eyes
Yeah.
to eyes.
Yeah.
With that being said, when you came in, was there some guys that you looked at, or who was some of your mentors when you were coming in?
When I kind of came, I would say my generation of actors, um, when I came to LA, it was still, let's see, this was like 84. Yeah, I came here in 84. So the stuff that was on, you know, uh, there wasn't really, there were a bunch of character actors that had been around for a while. And of course, when you see old movies, see old TV shows, you see them, and you go, oh yeah, there's Keith Luke, there's Benson Fong, all these other older guys.
Mm-hmm.
Those we probably, and there's a incredible actor named Mako, who was I think one of the first Asian American males to be nominated for an Oscar in the '60s, and those people are the ones I guess would be. My mentors, or the ones that I knew of that I would look up to in their career. And there wasn't at that point like any big, huge Asian American star, other than, of course, Bruce Lee was still sort of, the guy that he kind of,
that standard
he was
there.
just, not even standard, but he was just sort of, oh, Bruce Lee, how can you even, he was so kind of above everything already,
Yeah.
right? But there wasn't anybody in that category that, I think actually in the '80s you would have Jackie Chan, or but again they were all specialized, martial arts stars, kind of thing. But for me, it was just a lot of the older, established character actors that I had seen on TV, that I watched in movies, that were still working a little bit at that time, and they were on there. I remember there was an actor named Robert Ito, who was at that time, he had a series called with Jack Klugman. What was it called? Jack Klugman was a medical examiner, and oh man, see, my brain is going to mush now. But anyways, those are the kind of guys that I would look up to, that I would see. And for all of us, I think we were, I can't speak for myself, but we weren't really thinking, oh man, I'm going to be a huge, I'm going to be like Brad Pitt, I'm going to be like DiCaprio kind of thing. We were just like, oh, I want to make a decent living
Yeah.
at this job, hoping that we'll get roles, and if you get lucky, you might get on a series or something. But you just want to you want to make a living doing this, and that's how all of us were. And we kind of, the ones like me who are lucky enough to do it, we were just, you didn't really think about it. You worked, and then you go to an audition, and you see the same people, and you go, oh hey. And it wasn't really competitive in terms of, I'm not going to beat this guy, I've got to get this role. It was just, we were all thinking, oh, hey, how's it going? And, this time maybe you'll get the role, and next time I'll get the role, and the next time the other guy will get the role. It was that sort of feeling, pretty much a community kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
there's enough room at the table for everybody,
Yeah, kind of. I mean, now it's the generation that came after me, or the younger generation, I see a lot more opportunities for them, and that's great. I mean, I watch all these TV shows on the CW and all these other shows where there's like an Asian, actor or actress on the series, a younger, person, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's the norm, but it's getting there, where it's not as hard to get as it used to be.
Now, how does that make you feel? Because you're one of those guys that set this trend. And I know a lot of you guys are very humble. And none of you guys will admit this. I've talked to so many actors and actresses that whenever I applaud, or I try to tell them how great they are. They're always super humble, and they say, no, I had other people. But how does that feel? You being the generation that not necessarily brought that Asian American or that Asian into this film, but you've been there, and for somebody to look at for so long, how does that feel being a trendsetter or being somebody that somebody look up to?
Yeah, for me, it's what can I say? It's a little humbling, but it's also very satisfying, because I get a lot of younger actors, asking me, hey, do you have any advice? What do how do I go about this and that? And I always try to just give as much help as I can to anybody that seeks it. It's a very, it's just, I guess it's satisfying that I've been lucky enough to kind of last this long, and the experiences that I've gathered maybe can help somebody else who's coming up. It's not like you can say, hey, do this, and this, and you'll be successful. It's different for everybody, of course. So, but there's certain things you can, it's funny. You can, these younger actors ask me, hey, can you give me advice about this or that? And I would say, well, I can tell you what I've been through, and that might help you, that might not, I don't know. Because things also change. The times, not just the people, but the way things are done change too. So what I went through is not necessarily what you're going through now. So I can't really, help you in terms of a lot of stuff now. I don't know. It used to be, I mean, I feel like an old man, because when I was going out auditions and stuff, we were still, have hard copies of our 8x10s, and we're going in, and we got, our resume stapled to it, and this and that. Now, it's all digital. You submit yourself online, you do this and that. And I haven't really, my agents do all that, so I don't really know the sort of the nuts and bolts of it anymore. So when people ask me how to do it, I go, well, I think you probably know a lot more about this stuff than I do now. So I don't think I can help you.
Yeah, it's understandable. You said a really interesting word, and it's a simple word, but you said change. Now, when I think change when it comes to cinema, films, and movies, back in those 80s and those 90s even, you really didn't see somebody go from the big screen to TV to the big screen, vice versa.
Right.
And then in this day and age, comic book movies are, I think when I was talking to, Peter David, 47 out of 50 are science fiction at the top 50 movies, and superhero movies. That being said, was it not so much a death sentence if you were to pick a superhero movie like, the Turtles, even though they had so much heat behind them with Turtle Mania? Would that be something that was somewhat of a blemish, or you would get, not laughed at, but was that something that you were like, oh man, it was just a Turtles movie? Even though they were so, such a box office success?
Yeah, no, at least to me, not at all. When you say death sentence, I guess I would say, a lot of actors, especially when we were young and we were starting out, and we were always thinking, oh man, I don't want to get, pigeonholed into this. People think of me as this, or I don't want to be, this
Typecast.
or that. Yeah, typecast as this. I want to be, I want to do as wide a range of stuff as I can, and plays all these different things. Of course, when you're young, that's what you think. And when I think about it now, I go, man, that's how uninformed you were.
Yeah.
Because getting typecast and getting pigeonholed is, if you're lucky enough to do that, to be that, um, that's how you work. That's how you get, like for me, not sure why, but I got pretty good at playing the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say if I was pigeonholed as the villain, that was fine with me, because I got a lot more work than I would have if people didn't think of, let's get Francois for this. I think he'd be great. Or, people didn't think of me as just, they would know me as for a certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like my wheelhouse, and it helped me a lot. The more work you get, the more exposure you get, the more experience you get, the more people will know you, the more casting people will know you, the more producers, directors, and they know that it's not, you're an actor, you're good at playing a certain role, but you're not just limited to that. So I think it helps you to do that. So getting back to Turtles, I would that was one of the biggest breaks for me, because and at the time when we were shooting it, I was like, hey, this is a great job, and I was having a lot of fun, but I didn't realize how it would explode, how big it would be, and it was crazy. I had finished the movie, and then I was working on some TV show like a couple years later,
mm-hmm.
and there was a child actor on the show, right? And he and his brother were there, and he came up to me and he said, "Hey, you're the Shredder, aren't you?" I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, how do you know? He goes, "No, I know, I recognize you." I thought, what do you mean recognize me? All you ever saw of me was my eyes behind the mask. But the kids, they said, no, I recognize you right away. And it took me by surprise, and I said, wow, that's when I realized, hey, this is a little, the movies that blow up like this are a lot bigger than you could ever think.
Yeah.
And these, still, I go to a few these Comic-Cons now, and not most of it, but I would say maybe 50% of the fans are still Ninja Turtle fans.
It's something, like I said, I got into this with that first movie, and like I said, there was two movies that I had on loop or replay, that I burnt out on VHS. And that first one was that Ninja Turtles movie, and that second one was Dumb and Dumber. My mom would not buy me. Once I burned it out, it was done. Yeah. She was tired of the most annoying sound in the world. She would never ever do it again. But it gave me, with the Disney movies as well, it gave me something to have in rotation with that first movie.
Yeah.
And reading some of the stuff that I've read, about on set, costumes. The Turtles were always, at least in the first movie, I know for a fact that it was 70 pounds for most of this stuff with the actor turtles, and then it got a little bit lighter when it got to the stunt and then other turtles. Do you remember about how much your costume weighed when you would put it on?
I was very lucky because, unlike the Turtles, mine, except for the helmet, mine was just like a cloth costume. Mm-hmm. It wasn't. I guess there's some of the arm shields and stuff like that with the little spikes and stuff mm-hmm. were hard plastic and stuff, but the rest of it was very, very easy. The only thing was, it's kind of, in the first movie, Shredder was obviously doing a lot of fighting and doing a lot of stuff, and when I got the role, I thought, hey, this is great. I can have a lot of fun, hopefully, doing some of this. Mm-hmm. And of course, it turned out that in the second movie, they changed all that, and Shredder wasn't really doing too much physical stuff. He just kind of stood around and ordered people to do stuff.
And glared a lot.
And they added this big, huge cape to the costume.
Yeah.
So when you're walking around, and it took me a little time to get used to the cape and to work it, so that it didn't look like I was just gonna fall down any minute. and then for some reason, the helmet that they made was actual, made of steel.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty heavy, so it was like, oh, once I put on the helmet, it was just like, you couldn't really, whip your head around or anything. You just kind of made sure it stayed there. But no, unlike the Turtles, because I watched when the Turtles were both the acting Turtles and the stunt Turtles, and when they were in their outfits, they can only work for
6 hours.
Maybe, well, even in the 6 hours, you can only work for maybe 45 minutes to an hour before you'd have to take a break, and they would like unzip the top and take the head off and stick the air conditioning hose, down the actor's back for 10 minutes or something before they would put it back on. So yeah, they had a rough time, but I think they had fun. It was okay.
Yeah.
He didn't speak too much English to begin with, literally. And we were in this little town in North Carolina, just outside of I think this Wilmington, where the studios were, and it was strange because you know how he was dressed in the movie, right? In his kimono and so forth. Well, in real life, that's how he dresses all the time.
Knife and all?
So, yeah, no, he's you can see him walking, down the street into the town, and he's in full kimono and they're called getas, which is the Japanese, these wooden shoes. And yeah, people would see him, and of course, after a while, everybody would know who he was. But I hung out with him a couple times when we weren't working, and we'd go out to dinner or something, and he was always dressed in traditional. I never saw him. I met him a couple times after we had done the movies, like a couple years later, here in LA, and I was in the movie theater, and I was coming out, and then I saw him coming out to the other side, and he was still dressed the same as he was.
Do you think he owns a T-shirt?
He owns the what?
Do you think he ever wore a T-shirt?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, because he had a, he had his own. He taught
Aikido.
No, not Aikido. He taught it's called Iaido, which is the art of drawing the sword and at the same time. So he had a dojo here in Little Tokyo here in Los Angeles for a long time, and I'm not sure. Like I said, I've never seen him in a T-shirt and jeans or in a T-shirt and sweats or anything. Every time I've seen him, he's always been in full gear.
He was one of those guys that, Shredder, obviously, he was the big bad. But when it came down to it, as a little kid, and maybe even today on the right type of day, depending on, how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling confident, if I see Shredder and I see Tatsu, I'm pretty sure Tatsu will make it really, really quick, if he had to take my wallet, and I'm pretty sure Shredder would kind of, drag it out just a little bit. But I never wanted to meet Tatsu, in a dark alleyway. And reading Ken Scott's book, Raphael, in the first two movies, he was saying that he had such this intensity to him, but
Right.
off screen he was very relaxed, very, chill compared to that
Yeah.
on-screen persona. Do you think that was his training with the martial arts he did? And then I know he came from the lineage of samurai with the samurai swords and everything like that.
Right.
But do you think that's what it was? He had this to kill persona on TV because that's what he was trained for, and then he could relax because he got all that energy out? Or how do you think he went about it?
I think I can't really tell if that was. He was not, an actor in the sense that some of us would call ourselves actors.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what that wasn't his career. That wasn't what he did for a living. I'm not sure how they found him or where he got. Well, obviously he got cast because of his the way he looked and the way he came across.
Mm-hmm.
But other than the Ninja Turtles, I don't know if he did anything else. I'm trying to think of if I've seen him in anything else besides the Ninja Turtles movies. So I think it's just like you say, on screen he had that presence and that look when we weren't working. Obviously he was not Tatsu. He was just Obata Sensei, but he was pretty he was pretty chill. But I don't know if he could. What am I trying to think? I think he would. The persona that he came up with when he was on screen, I think I'm not sure it was anything to do with his training or the way he, I think he just thought, hey, I gotta act mean, and he was good at it.
Yeah, I gotta have that warrior mentality.
Yeah,
when
that was it.
I did a quick Google, I try to be as quiet as possible, whenever I'm looking something up. But it said he played a second in command villain. Sato, is that Sato?
Sato, yeah.
Sato in Showdown in Little Tokyo. That was the other credit.
Okay.
The other credit. But like I said, man, he brought an intensity, and then he made it feel like, oh man, if this guy is that mean, you can only imagine how mean that Shredder character was.
Right, exactly.
You've said you've played so many villains. Is that a hat that's easy to take off and put on, or is that something that you got to kind of think about?
No, I don't. At this point, I don't really have to think about it. It is a pretty easy hat to take on and off, and that sort of once in a while that worries me. I go, wait a minute, this feels pretty good doing this, so I don't know if that's a good thing. No, I'm just kidding. It's not it's I don't really have to work myself up into, and of course the people who play villains, we all know that we're not standing there going, hey, I gotta act mean, I gotta act bad, I'm the villain. We just, it's not, nobody thinks of themselves as the villain. Nobody thinks of themselves as the bad guy. You just you act and you do what you think you have to do, and then that whatever it is you do makes you the villain. I don't think we're all standing around going, oh, I'm the bad guy, so I'm gonna act bad, right?
Yeah. Well, when there's a few things that I'm super passionate about, food, comic books, movies, obscure movie quotes. I mean, I've said it in one of these podcasts before that Forrest Gump is one of those ones that I can go to and just throw any random quote to kind of break the ice. When you do that, or you switch between the good guy and bad guy, it reminds me when you were talking like wrestling. I don't know if you were ever a wrestling fan at all. Okay, so I've heard so many of these guys talking, and they'll go and say that, what you said exactly, it's not so much you're a bad guy. You're playing this role, and you do certain things as a bad guy. Are
Right.
some of those things universal for bad people, no matter if it's a movie, television show, voiceover? Is there some of those mannerisms or body languages that, oh man, that's automatically a heel, as they would call it in the wrestling world, or a bad guy in movies?
It no, I think it depends on how what the maybe what the project is or what the show is and the tone of the show. If you're say you're doing a Disney kids show,
Mm-hmm.
a lot, and you're the bad guy. A lot of it is pretty much over the top.
Very wacky
Yeah,
and
I mean
silly.
it's way out there. It's not it's not grounded in any kind of reality. Um, and then if you're doing some other another kind of project, and you say you're playing the I don't know the killer or something,
Mm-hmm.
where it's a little more subtle, it's a little this and that. Again, you don't think of yourself as I'm the villain. Then it's a little different. There's no stock thing about being the bad guy. It's just it depends on each project. It depends on the individual.
That makes sense. Everybody's got their own flavor. Everybody likes,
Yeah.
what they like, whatever makes them feel comfortable to get into that character or be that character,
Right.
for
Right.
that little bit of time.
Right.
Do you remember like how long you shot, for this movie, like your scenes?
I was. Let's see. I was in North Carolina for. They had me for about 5 weeks. Obviously, I didn't work every day in the 5 weeks, but
Yeah.
I would say probably about half of that
Okay.
was on set. Yeah.
Now, with how many? So we had three turtles for
Mhm.
each person: the voice, the actor, the stunt. How many shredders did we have? Did we have three as well, or was it you and a stunt guy?
No, actually, for Secret of the Ooze, it was just me because again, Shredder didn't really do anything, so we didn't need a stunt guy to do anything. It was just me standing around, trying to act, royal or whatever in my big old cape and ordering people around and saying, get those turtles and stuff like that. So.
Did did you get now? He's got many names, Big Sexy, Diesel. Did you ever get to meet Super Shredder?
Oh yeah, Kevin.
Yeah,
Um,
Kevin
yeah,
Nash.
I met. Yeah, and man, the first time I met him, I think when I went into the wardrobe department for some reason, and he was there being measured or whatever, and it was like, wow, it's amazing when you're close in person. You think I can't believe I'm talking about it. I'm watching my TV's on silent now. I'm watching the Laker game,
Ooh.
and
We Orlando just got eliminated last week, so I'm from Florida, so I'm a Magic fan through and through. So it's been
well,
rough.
but the Heat just took out
They got rid of the
Milwaukee's.
Bucks, which makes
Yeah.
it interesting because a little sidebar here for basketball. I've always got time for basketball. It's my favorite sport. Been watching it
Yeah.
since Shaq brought down that rim in New Jersey. I've been a
Oh,
fan of Orlando ever since. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because now start hearing all that gossip or that water cooler talk. Is Giannis going to leave and go to
Right,
Miami
exactly.
now? Is Giannis going to leave
Yeah.
and go to LA? Is Anthony Davis going to re-sign a full contract
Yeah.
extension? So I love this time of
Yeah.
the year when it
Yeah.
comes to NBA. I just can't wait
Yeah.
till we're allowed to go back into these arenas.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh no, I've got
digressing.
plenty of
But
time for basketball, so it's okay.
Standing next to Kevin, you kind of go, "Wow, I didn't think literally anybody could be so big and tall," and you just go, "Whoa." I think you were talking, and I think he and his girlfriend or his wife or somebody, they were walking through one of the malls down there, and literally, and you're talking about being head and shoulders above everybody else. You could literally see, people walking, and then you would see Kevin just kind of towering over them. You go, oh man.
It's weird that we're cut from the same. Like we are the same. No, we're not. We're the same, but we're not the same. It's you
Yeah,
look at him or you look at somebody like Shaq, and you're like, how the hell is this the same species? How am I in the same
yeah,
category?
yeah,
Obviously not same category, but like, how are we considered the same species, the same people?
right,
You
right,
know, um,
yeah.
when he was on, or is it like a passing of the torch type of thing? It's like a high five, I had it, you got it. When that happened, like Super Shreddy's like, I finished all my scenes, now it's your turn, or would you guys just do stuff out of order when you came to filming scenes?
Oh yeah, we did stuff out of order. The way we film it. Actually, I mean, I was there watching some of it when they filmed the scene of him, uh, you know, crashing up through the pier.
Oh,
And,
tearing down the pier with his fists.
yeah,
Yeah.
once he got oozed, and
Mm-hmm.
then then he shows up as. But that was the only time. Um, yeah, I don't remember. We didn't really work at the same time, so it was a lot of times. It's funny because a lot of times you work on a movie or you work on a project, and then later on the fans will ask you, "Oh, so how was it? Was it great working with so and so, and how was it working with these people?" A lot of the times you might be working on the same movie, but you're not working on the same scene, so you don't actually see the other people, or you don't actually. Sometimes you don't even meet the other person that's in the movie. So for me, I saw Kevin. I think I said, "Hey, we said hi and stuff," but that was pretty much it. We weren't there at the same time, stuff. So there was no, "Hey, now you're the shredder," so take
Yeah,
over.
I got you. So
Yeah,
I'll just ask you a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up.
yeah,
So
sure.
we talked just briefly, just a little while ago, about a role that up until I could almost do the James Sato thing eye to eye, I'm like, oh man, that's him.
Right,
You popped up in Lost, and I watched, like I said, I think it was the first 4 seasons, because they would send out DVDs when we were
right,
deployed in
right.
the Navy and stuff. They would send out DVDs, TV shows,
Yeah,
movies,
yeah,
sometimes before they were even out on the shelves. And Lost was one of those ones. There were so many episodes for each season. Oh man, I could watch an episode tonight, episode tomorrow. It makes
right,
time go by
right.
quicker. How did
Yeah.
that role come up?
Again, just like Shredder, the role in Lost started out as just, like I say, we're actors. We go audition, and hopefully we get the job. So I got called to go audition for this role in Lost. It was right at the end of season 1,
Mm-hmm.
and and the show was just had already just kind of skyrocketed. It was just
Yeah.
taking off like crazy. So I thought, hey, great, and it was just going to be a one-shot deal, which is going to be this uh, one episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, I auditioned, I got the role, and I thought, oh, great, and I knew they were shooting in Hawaii, so I thought, oh, great, I got to go to Hawaii. But no, it was like they said, hey, so, you should show up. Your call time is, 5 p.m. tomorrow, and you're going to Burbank Studios, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what do you mean? So
They
there's
got you.
the first time, the first, when we shot that first orientation scene, it was in, because J. Abrams had another show at the same time, at that time, Alias.
Mm-hmm.
So we shot that scene on the set of Alias when they were finished for the day, and we came in and we shot that scene. And I figured, hey, that was great, that was fun, and I thought that was it. And then, a month later, they called and said, hey, they're going to do another one. I thought that was all fine. And then they kept, they kept saying, hey, we're going to do another one. And finally, I think by the third time, I flew out to Hawaii to do it. And I don't know how many of those I did, but, the job turned out to last all 6 seasons. So
yeah,
it was great for me. It was one of those kind of life-changing jobs that, of course, when you get it, you don't think, oh my God, this is it. You just go in, do your stuff, and then little by little, you kept thinking, well, this is, as long as they keep calling me, I'm fine. I'm good with it.
Hey, as long as those checks keep clearing, I'll keep showing up,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So I got you written down here for 17 episodes on Lost. Like I said,
okay,
it was always met with a little bit of mixed reviews. I didn't when I go and I watch something, I don't ever sit there and say, "Oh man, this was good or bad." I just say I liked
Right.
it or I didn't like it because
Right.
I'm not that professional. I'm not you
Yeah.
guys. So I don't think I have a voice to say, "Oh man, this guy just did not do this good," or vice versa.
Right.
Right? And I
Well,
wish more people would take that stance.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, hopefully, if you're as an audience member, at least for me, when I watch something, if it's good, I get caught up in it.
Yeah.
And that's great. If it's not good, then I don't get caught up in it, and it just doesn't. I'm not sitting there going, oh, that was bad, and this is not the way it should be done, and this is that. If it takes you out of it like that, then obviously it wasn't good for you, right?
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there watching and you kind of get lost in it, no pun intended, you go.
I need to get sound effects for here.
This is great. Yeah.
No, but like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. There hasn't been anything that I've seen you in. You like you said, you come and it's the same for you guys, and it's, oh man, you got it this time, I'll get it next time, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's always fun seeing you. Like I said, the first time I ever saw you was at Shredder, and then it evolved into, I think I might have seen it, it was after Lost because they had just put X-Files up on Netflix.
Right.
And then I'm a huge Tim Allen fan. I loved him in Home Improvement, so I've seen you on Last Man Standing. So it's always fun to see, these reoccurring roles. So this person that you follow, you're like, oh man, I've seen him in this, and this, and you can start connecting the dots type of thing. Out of all of the roles you've played, do you think you have maybe like a top 3 that you really enjoyed playing that character, or when you were done with that character, you're like, man, I did something here that I'm super proud of, and they can't take that away from me, type of thing?
Yeah, I would say definitely the top, the most enjoyable and the greatest role I've done so far was the character I played in the show The Tick.
Okay.
And I say that because it really is. Sometimes a role comes up where you're playing the part, but there is no there's no effort.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point where you go, this I gotta, I'm working this, I'm doing this.
You're just being yourself.
You're just kind of you're just not necessarily yourself, but whatever you're doing, it feels just effortless.
Mm-hmm.
And not just, in acting or anything else. Like if you're good at a sports, or you're good at something else, and you do it, and it just feels effortless.
Second nature, almost.
Yeah, that's how it should be. The role I played in the show The Tick, that was it for me. And I we had 2 seasons of it, and I was so bummed when they didn't pick up the 3rd season that I was like, oh man.
That one was really a shocker when it didn't. It seemed like
it was weird.
It seemed like it was good. All of my friends really watched it. We watched it. So it was interesting to see them go, oh man, we're just not going to pick this up. But they've done that. I don't want to say there's so many good shows, but it's like there's no rhyme or reason there'd be a show that's like, how does that one have an audience when this one had one? You've seen all the panels, you've seen all the words, you've seen all the reviews and stuff like that, and they still, come down and exit.
Sometimes it just doesn't, you look on, it was on Amazon, and I looked on it, and it was the only show that had a 5-star rating. Mm-hmm. I mean, all the other hit shows on Amazon were like, the most was 4.5.
Yeah.
And you think, why would they do that? But, there's all sorts of other things, decisions that they make that, maybe they just decided it wasn't worth it, it wasn't enough money or whatever it is that is, not, you never know what's behind it.
Yeah, whatever's behind that curtain, that whole Wizard of Oz type of thing.
Yeah, you never know. As an actor, you go in and you audition for something, and when you don't get the part, most of us go, wow, I wonder what, was it this, was it that, was it this or that? You never know. It could be, they just had something else in mind, or they didn't like the way, you had your hair that day or whatever. It just wasn't. It's just stuff.
You wore the wrong cologne today. I'm gonna cancel
this.
Yeah,
that's how it is.
Well, I gotta say, man, it's been an honor. It's been a privilege to sit here and talk to you for this past hour and some change. Like I said, this is the chance that I can really get to, like I said, lay these roses at you guys' feet. How I didn't get to do that with some of these people that I've grown up with watching. Whether it be Kobe, one of the greatest basketball players. He's 1A, 1B, Noah Jordan.
Yeah.
My favorite actor of all time, Robin Williams. I didn't get to do that. So it's to that point where I gotta start scratching this stuff off my bucket list, and I gotta say thank you. You guys have really inspired a generation. By some people would just say putting on goofy clothes or running around in a turtle suit. It's been such a pleasure these last 25 plus years with these movies and with your roles, not only in the Ninja Turtles, but like I said, I loved Lost. I don't give a shit what anybody else says. I loved Lost, man. I can't thank you enough.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for thinking of me, and thanks for having me on your show, on this podcast.
Man, I'd love to do it anytime you would like. If there's anything that you would like to promote, anything you're working on, anything you want people to know about.
Again, my wife is always telling me, hey, you gotta just, tell people what you're doing and this and that. And I'm just one of those guys who it doesn't feel natural to me. So I'm never out there going, hey, watch me on this show, or tomorrow I'm going to be on this, it's not, I don't know, it's not me. So that's the short answer. Long answer, actually, of saying I probably should have some stuff I could tell, but I don't. It just doesn't, it's like, hey, if you see this show, it's great. I'm in it, but I'm not good at promoting myself, I guess.
Well, hey, if I can say one thing, there's one thing I learned, even though I've never met the man Shaquille O'Neal. He said, "Real G's move in silence." That's what you're doing. You're OG, triple OG when it comes to, like I said, Shredder. So I want to thank you one more time, and you guys can find Francois Chau at Twitter, FrancoisChauw. Give him a follow, give him a watch. And Francois, like I said, I can't thank you enough, man. I hope to have you on real soon again. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime, Julian. Anytime.
All right, you take it easy. Have a great night, brother.
All right. Thanks, man.
Later.
Bye.
I want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast today. If you like what you're hearing, help us out by giving us a review and a rating of 5 stars. Follow us on all social media platforms at The Turtle Tapes. I've been your host, Julian, and as always, it's been a blast, and cowabunga.